Hi, I'm Terry with She Can Too, and this is our client Kim. She called our office a couple of days ago saying she had had just a nasty stench coming from underneath the kitchen sink. Turns out that she'd had a water leak that had been happening for a real long time and had done a fair amount of damage to the cabinetry underneath there. Kim, how bad was it when you opened up the cabinet doors and started getting some of that stuff out of there?
It was very bad. I didn't realize for a long time how bad it was. I knew I had a leak. Didn't think it was a bad leak at all or something.
Was it undetectable for a long time because you have so many things? Most of us have a lot of things underneath the kitchen sink. Containers for soap and
my trouble spot was plastic bags that you get at the grocery store.
Oh yeah.
I love those. I use them for everything, and they apparently got in the way of what I needed to see.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what we found after running water through just running the faucet and running water down there and taking a flashlight and watching, basically you just have a leaky pipe. There's a pipe that comes off of the garbage disposal and connects to another pipe, and at that connection, that's where the problem is. So let's see what we can do to get underneath there and take care of that. What had happened with this was that the water from the faucet had just landed wherever, but then all the things that were underneath there, all the bottles of cleanser and sponges and plastic grocery bags, just kept that water, how do I want to say, captive. So it didn't really evaporate quickly, not that it necessarily would, but it ends up, water finds its own travel, ends up going back to the back wall and the edges, and this just soaks it in. This particle board just soaks it in like a sponge and then starts to separate. The water leaked from the drain pipe, landed on the shelf, stayed on the shelf, and then just helped itself to the board and ended up destroying the board. You can see what we've done underneath here. She went ahead and cleaned it all out, and we tacked up some canvas just to kind of make it a little cleaner when we're working under here. If you can get a shot back in there how the sheetrock has been all damaged, you can see that it was pretty damaged. As I said, we removed the sheetrock. All that wood in there just needs to dry out and be treated. We're not going to go into it at this point, but there are spots where we're going to actually have to cut that wood out. Back in this corner here, we're actually going to have to cut those pieces of board out and replace them and sandwich them in with other boards. We're not going to do it at this time because probably in another 6 months we're going to go ahead and gut the whole kitchen, and at that point we'll have real good easy access to get to all that structural support. The first step to replacing that pipe is to undo the two fittings. Normally they're called slip joint nuts, and normally they're just hand tight. If they aren't, you can use your channel locks, widen them out, get up and get a grip around the slip joint nut and get a grip on the slip joint nut and give it a turn. There's always going to be water in this pipe. That's what it's there for. That water that sits in there creates a barrier for the gas smells, the sewer gas smells, from coming back up into the kitchen area. So we want to loosen these nuts, empty the water, and remove the P-trap. Because this pipe isn't long enough, we need to add an extension to it. So what we've bought is a piece called a tail piece. This slip joint nut and this beveled washer Then we take our tail piece and go up as far as we can. Tighten the nut down a little bit just to hold it. Next we want to take some measurements. Oh, looks like this is going to be now too long. So we want to measure our distance of this gap and cut it off from this pipe. I cheat sometimes and just use my fingers. It's about 2.5, 3 fingers length. So I'm going to cut between 2.5 and 3 fingers off of this tailpiece pipe.